I get a hallelujah or something like, can you actually make some noise, Comic Con? Let's go! Láttam ott a srácokat a második sorba, ők még nem döntötték el, hogy vagy nagyon beleteszem ebbe magam, vagy lehet, hogy ők ilyen cínikus cosplayt vettek fel, hogy semmi extra, csak a Judge-nek tudod, hogy simába lehozom. Átváltok angolra, hogy ilyen elképesztően brutális aréna hangos felvonulás legyen ez az egész, oké? Hogyha nem annyira értesz angolul, akkor csak csináljuk, mintha egyértelmű lenne. Azt várom mindenkitől, hogy ilyen albörzsölős, persze, szerintem is. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the thing is, it's okay if we are not just ready, because some voices, they don't just tell stories, they carry some weight. They carry some pain, they carry some discipline, and out of all those things, they carry and maintain some control. From distant stars and galaxies to the frozen realms of Midgard itself, he gave life to warriors who speak little but say everything that truly matters. A man who showed us that true strength is not what you unleash, but what you actually can hold back. You know him as Steel, but you also experience him as Kratos. He is a presence, a voice, a force. You don't just hear, you actually have to witness. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the good news is you will be able to witness him as he about to appear on stage here at Comic Con 2026. Here comes Christopher Judge! We have a full house for you today, sir.
Wow, that's lovely. Hello. That's my tag.
The buttons don't work. These are props, actually.
Oh.
We wanted to make sure that you feel comfortable, but then we realized that, why do we have a USB slot here? I don't know. I'm trying to...
This is like my first wife. None of the buttons work. What?
Wait, who said that? I'm trying to maintain a calmer presence right now. You are someone who... The most famous characters that most of us know when it comes to you are almost like stoic in nature.
Yes.
But what I enjoy about your true persona and character, the way you display yourself, is that you send the message that you do understand how to have fun.
Oh, yes.
There is a certain juice to your character, right?
Yes.
How does someone like you get into the skin of stoic characters? What's happening in your mind where you're like, okay, this is a little bit different maybe?
Well, it was two different ways actually. It was much more. It was much different doing Teal'c than Kratos. Teal'c to me was quiet because he was around a new group of people that he took a chance on trusting. And so his silence, I think, was due to the fact that he didn't 100% trust them in the beginning. He was hoping. And it's funny, when we started the show, I went to Brad Wright and Jonathan Glasner, the two showrunners, and I asked them to not have Teal'c talk so much. And they looked at me like I was crazy, and I was like, what's wrong? I said, we've never actually had an actor come say, I want less lines. But I thought that having him speak less not only gave him an air of mystery, but then it made every time he talked important. And thankfully, they agreed with it.
Yeah, let's go. The cultural background of Teal'c is somewhat similar to ancient Sparta in a way that they do have to control themselves from the beginning, but the journey through which these characters go is obviously totally different, and by the time you get the part of Kratos, he became a changed man.
Yes.
Were you familiar?
Well, he was starting the journey.
Okay.
Yes.
Most precisely, yes. Was it something that you realized at the very first minute when you started to get into that shape, realizing that okay, I have to take him through a journey? Was this clear from the very beginning?
No.
No.
Because when you audition for things now, you never know what you're auditioning for. They don't give you the name of the project. They don't give you the name of the character. You just get sides, which are pieces of a script, and you kind of have to interpret it the way you think it is. So it wasn't until one of my kids saw the script I was working on, and all my kids had played God of War. And my son said, "This sounds like God of War." I was like, "Oh, okay," because I hadn't played it. And I really didn't, you okay? I really didn't, I hope that came up from your nose. Otherwise, congratulations.
Secretly, he is really hoping for you to scold him.
Keep your flatulence to yourself, boy. So I knew that God of War was popular, but I didn't know until E3 of 2017, I believe it was, when Kratos was introduced and the place went crazy. Up till that point, it was just this great character that I was doing, no pressure, so we're just, I'm just flying through every day going, oh man, this is great. And then when that happened, I was sitting backstage with Corey Barlog, and he looked at me and I looked at him, and I was like, oh, you didn't tell me this. And he's like, yeah. So from that day on, there was all this pressure. And Corey was going through his own pressures because Sony wasn't really sold on it. Well, the head guy who is kind of like the Obi-Wan of Sony didn't really get the changes in Kratos, and he didn't really like them. There's a great documentary called Raising Kratos, which kind of gives the whole story of what was going on. And you would have never known from Corey because he never brought it to set. It was just such a great place to be. But the pressure that I felt after the E3 reveal was incredible. And it was, thank God everything worked out.
Yeah, a huge round of applause to everybody who worked on that show, because that was absolutely crazy. I remember back in the day, the audience didn't know that we are actually talking about God of War. I remember they were sitting inside and they were like, okay, this seems like Nordic. That's like a dragon over there, what's happening? And I remember the original footage shows that people are like, oh my God, is this going to happen? And then it did happen, and then we hear your voice. And I remember back in the day, oh my God, I had a similar experience years ago. I was actually an avid fan of Stargate Atlantis. And then all of a sudden, I think it was around season 4, there is the episode where Tilk appears.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my God, she just got real. It's been quite real in that distant galaxy, right? They had their troubles, but like this is where the fun actually begins.
Right.
and then comes 2017 E3, and then again you come in, and I'm like, oh my God, they are taking it to another level. It seems like when producers and writers thinking about how can I summon a voice, a presence where people do realize that this is going to be a different level of the game that we are playing, they are looking to you.
Oh God, from your mouth to God's ears.
My question is, sorry if it's a boring one, but the human nature works in a way that we do not understand how great our voices are if we have a great voice. So I do believe that this is something that is clear for you because of the feedback that you are receiving through years and years and years. What was the point in your life where you wake up and it became natural to you that everybody is like falling in order and following orders and be like, yes sir. What was the first day for Mr. Judge when he looked into the mirror and be like, everything's going to go my way because of my voice?
Hopefully that happens next week. No, my voice has always been kind of the bane of my existence. When I was young, I had a very deep voice. My kids have very deep voices. And my voice is in a range where it's very difficult to hear. And I'm also a mumbler. So a lot of my early years, even before I was an actor, would be people going, what? Like, what did you say? Speak up, or quit mumbling. And so it really wasn't anything that I really took pride in, or until I remember the first time that I thought, hey, maybe I got something. I had just graduated from college and I was modeling for Nike. And one of the designers said, hey, do you do voiceovers? What the hell's that? I don't even know what that is. So they sent me to a studio to read. To me, it was just a bunch of words, and it turned out to be the first year of the Air Jordan shoes, and their whole Air shoe thing was their first year of it. And so my first audition I got, and it happened to be for Nike, and it was still, I remember to this day, the Air Revolution by Nike. Gravity is just a game.
Oh my God. A couple of weeks ago I downloaded God of War, Sons of Sparta. And every now and then the game basically pauses and then there is some narration. And ever since I knew that I will have the pleasure and the privilege to have this discussion, I've always wondered, how often do you connect with the cast? Is it like, because obviously we don't know the future, right? I wish we knew the future, but we don't. And and I also saw the documentary that you just mentioned, and the whole, because of that documentary, me as a fan, I can connect to this whole franchise on a more intimate level. And so I'm thinking, are you guys in contact, maybe daily, weekly? How can we imagine Santa Monica Studios and you guys? What is happening behind the curtains? Is there something that is happening? I'm so bad at this. Like, I want to squeeze something out of you, but I also want to look nice. I don't know.
You know, I kind of have heard kind of the same rumors as everybody else. I mean, they're doing, they're doing, the game that just came out, and then they're remastering the early games, which I always want to say, God of War exists now because of what T.C. Carson did TC is not only a wonderful man, he is one of the great voices that has ever existed. And I was so fortunate that I hadn't, before my audition, Googled God of War and Kratos, because I was a huge fan of T.C. Carson.
Okay.
And I had met him a few years previous with his mother, and just had a lovely interaction with him. But I was so in awe of his voice, who he is as a person, that it would have completely thrown me. And so the reason that I didn't was because, you know, I knew that someone had played Kratos before, but now, and I wasn't sure what it was, but they were doing something different. So I didn't want to be bound by what I heard from someone else. So I just went into it kind of just how I perceived it to be, which, thank God I didn't know it was TC, because it would have been a losing proposition for me to try to copy that magnificent voice.
Okay, let's hear it for him one more time. And there's actually going to be a remake about the original trilogy, but what I'm curious about is when they announced Ragnarok, and then we talked about the journey, and okay, before doing the 2018, let's say, soft reboot of God of War, you had no idea what is happening. But once you got the recall to Ragnarok, obviously the field is different now.
Oh, yes.
And from the very first recording day, you know what is happening. How was it a different experience to start this recording without auditioning, but like started from day one and looking ahead for the journey?
Well, the great thing about great writers, they take the time, and the writers, both directors, excuse me, Corey and Eric, and then the DLC director, Bruno, they're like my brothers. And a lot of actors say is, we were like a family. You know why they say we were like a family? Because they weren't like a damn family at all. But we really were, you know. And so we really got to know each other. And I still, when you become close to a writer, especially brilliant writers, brilliant directors, they use your personal life in the story. So 2018, and I've said this many times, 2018 to me was a love letter to my children. It was me hoping that they understood when they were young why Daddy wasn't present all the time. Why, you know, I wasn't there as much as I thought I should have been. Ragnarok was very much about me personally. When you have a cause, it's very easy to get behind the cause and put yourself second. Ragnarok was very much, in my mind, about you've achieved the goal of your child not making all the same mistakes that you did.
Okay.
That your child is now ready to go out into the world on their own. But then what happens to you? What happens when you don't have something else to focus on? You just deal with you. So I think when any actor achieves any level of success, they go through, it's called, help me.
Could you scold me a little bit more precisely for not being able to help?
It's called imposter syndrome.
Oh, okay,
So in your mind, you're not doing anything different than when people told you you were shit for 10 years. Mm-hmm. But now in your mind, you're doing the same things that you did then, but now everyone loves you. So it really plays on your psyche. And that's very much where I was. Like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, I'm no different. I don't know why. As great as it is, you can't wrap your head around why it's happening. And so there was a final scene where Kratos sees the last triptych and he is being celebrated and loved by people. And they hadn't shown me the triptych before we rehearsed it. So when I saw it, it was such a parallel to me. I mean, I just broke down. I couldn't get it back. And so there's the film parts of it have to be within a certain time frame to be usable, because they have to fit into the game in very definitive places. So this thing went on for 3-4 minutes. And Eric, the director, who I love dearly, walks over and puts his arm around me and he says, "That was great, big man. Now can you give me one we can use?" But it was very, very much what I was going through in my life. And I always say man, they paid me a hell of a lot of money for therapy.
Less of a spiritual question, more of a materialistic, geeky question. In real life, which Kratos weapon would you choose?
Oh, the Blades of Chaos.
Blades of Chaos, definitely, right?
Oh.
Without a question. I remember it's a core memory for me when in the first game you actually go for the Blade of Chaos. With Athena and everything, it's like it is about identity, who we are as a man, as a god, as a human being, and that just resonated with me so much, and it was like returning to something more ancient, returning to something older within your own system, within your own body. Was it the same for you, reflecting on the past?
Yes, and there's a story that goes along with that. Wow, you're great. Shooting the Blades of Chaos, retrieving the Blades of Chaos, was the second scene of the first day of 2018. The scene before that, our very first scene, was just what seemed like written on the page, a very simple scene. It's Kratos and Atreus getting into a boat and shoving off from shore. So I had been taking voice lessons, not to do anything, but to learn a British accent. So we do the first take, and I said, "Boy, stay away from the water." And I hear, "Cut!" and Corey is this wonderful guy. But with us, he's very non-confrontational. He always approaches everything with reason and calm, and so it takes about 2 minutes to get from me to you. So I know something's wrong. He kind of comes over and he says, "Was that a British accent?" And I said, "Well, I guess not a very good one if you have to ask."
And he says, why the hell are you doing that? And I said, because you guys just paid me for 3 months to take these British lessons. I said, no, we didn't. I said, no, yes, you did. The check's cleared. So apparently there was some sort of miscommunication between Corey and the studio had decided that Kratos would sound better with a British accent.
Oh my God.
So I hope I don't offend anyone. Corey said, fuck that, do what you did in the audition, that's why we hired you. So yeah. So it got off to a little bit of a rough start. And then the second scene of that day, first day, is retrieving the Blades of Chaos. So I knew that they wanted Kratos to be different, but I didn't know how far away from the original Kratos I could go. So I asked Corey, I said, man, like, how far are you prepared for me to go with this? And he said, Chris, let it fly. And that's kind of what shooting was after that. Not just from me, from everybody. Just let it fly. And so everything.
Yes, and it did fly.
And it's very rare. Like, sets can be brutal. So it's very rare that a set is a safe place. But we were all so invested, every single actor, every single character was so invested in their character and in the project. And we were so invested in each other that there was just so much love and care and respect given between all of us, that it made it a safe place to whatever you were gonna dredge up from your past to use, everyone supported you. And it was just, it truly was being around a group of virtuoso actors who had no fear, and just, as you can tell by everybody's performance, they just let it fly.
They did, yes. Another epic scene that had a huge impact on me. It takes place in the expansion of Valhalla. And I do believe you are thinking about the same thing already, right?
Oh, yeah.
He actually meets his younger persona, and was like, I spent days after first reaching that level just reminiscing, just thinking about my very own past, and I was thinking, oh my God, everybody who had the chance of cooperating in this probably had to go through the same thing. This is some existential, deep, amazing stuff to do. What happened to you personally? What happened to you while Kratos was looking at that older version of his? What were you looking into?
Well, once again, it was so personal for me that it was easy, because it was Chris Judge talking to young Chris Judge, and talking about being allowed to be boxed in and being one thing, being told what it is to be a man rather than just experiencing and living and being your own man. And then having evolved enough to say you've always been more than that. You've always been more than this big, muscular, somewhat funny guy who, was so unsure of himself that he always had to be the funny guy. You know what I mean? So it was very much Chris Judge talking to Chris Judge. And also me giving myself permission to tell people you love them, to tell people you matter. It's doesn't make you less of a man
to tell someone, hey, I got you. I love you. It's okay to want to be loved and to tell others that you love them. I don't know when telling people you love them became a bad thing. I don't know when supporting people or uplifting people or just listening to someone that you meet became a bad thing. But that was kind of the start of the talk of not only toxic masculinity, but also this whole cuck syndrome. You know, I still kiss my kids on the lips and they're in their 30s. And if somebody wants to step to me and says, oh, you're gonna make them gay, well, come on, motherfucker. you know, and awards and shit are great. Love them. But the greatest reward is being able to come to conventions like this and have people say it changed their relationship with their father. It changed their relationship with their child. It changed their relationship with their mother. It changed whatever it is, you know, and it gives people authority over themselves. That like, shit, no matter who I'm in love with, no matter who I'm attracted to, no matter what my ideals are, I deserve love. And I deserve to give love to others unjudged and unabashedly. And that's what makes human beings great. Is not only freedom to do what they want, but the freedom to let other people the fuck alone and not judge them and just support them or leave them the fuck alone. Man, that's the end of my soapbox.
Unjudged would be a cool podcast that you could host. I wasn't sure to bring this up, but you just gave me the courage and strength to do it. A couple of days ago, I've seen a documentary on Netflix. It's called Inside the Manosphere. And when it comes to manosphere and red pill movement, misogyny, and they're always talking about strength and power, but then I look at inspiring men who are really like inspiring, and somehow they are always telling a different story. When we are looking at the inspiration, dare I say provocation and manipulation that are targeting young boys, what do you see outside the world? What is happening right now? Because I think this voice of yours, and right now I'm not talking about the tone of it, but the content of it, should be like spread everywhere. Because men who are truly powerful are talking like this. What could we do as other men to support each other and make sure that the red pill movement and the manosphere gets smaller and smaller every day? What can we do to spread this message instead of that one?
Well, literally, like when you say, how are you doing today, to someone, wait for an answer. Really listen to how they're doing today. You know, when people need help, when people just need someone to talk to, just listen to them. It's not difficult. It's not this great expenditure of energy. It's what we were built for. When you need help, don't be afraid to ask for it. That doesn't make you not manly. It doesn't make you less feminine or whatever you are. It doesn't make you less of anything. It makes you more of. Because the healthier you are, the more you can help other people be healthy. You know, and it's a cooperative on this earth. It's supposed to be. And these idiots that are running America now are doing, and yes, they're fucking idiots. You know, going into places and bombing, that's not manly. Make fuckers fight wars like they did in 1812 when you had to go face to face, you know, and you were in peril. And not to say that the brilliant people who protect countries aren't in peril, but there'd be a lot less rush to war if it were fought hand to hand. not by drones and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And just that we have no regard for our children whatsoever. None. It's mind-boggling how we got to this place, you know? And I literally think this is what is gonna change it. Having open and honest conversations about it is what's gonna change it. Because, I mean, thanks to gaming, anime, and all these different, we have greater access to our children and to people in general than they will ever have. So, I mean, I think this is where it starts.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Judge, the man himself. Thank you. As a final act of kindness, but also as a final act of giving directions, could you once again step into the role of Kratos and give directions based on this to the lovely people of Budapest Comic Con 2026? How should we lead on throughout this weekend? Just some final directions to Comic Con 2026.
Do not try. Be better.